All right, everyone, here we are with ticker symbol WKHS, Workhorse Group Inc. And before we jump into this chart, I want to say welcome to all my first-time viewers and investors. Welcome to my channel, Invest for Tomorrow. To all my subscribers, welcome back, and let's jump into this chart. So for those of you that didn't get a chance to see my video yesterday talking about how ARK Invest was putting money into Workhorse, they bought hundreds of thousands of shares as this was going downwards. So they saw value in Workhorse or saw it at a discount. When you look at this zoomed out, this is in a bearish trend and this is a slight recovery here. Now, yesterday, before the end of the day, I was seeing, because I was using one of my intra-trade indicators that I personalize and I use throughout the day, and it doesn't indicate this every time. So I'm going to show a short clip of what I showed yesterday, and I'm just going to explain it kind of briefly here. So it was showing these last three here. And when usually on top of this indicator, the bar is sitting right on it or slightly above it like this one or even this one, it's showing that there's momentum being built. I had stated yesterday if this momentum continued, but since it was after our market hours, we needed to watch this closely early in the morning. But if this momentum continued, we were going to break through resistance and it was going to level off or continue the run. Well, it certainly did that. It leveled off and it continued the run. But the most important thing was that it was going to work its way up beyond resistance. Now, the other thing I had stated is if this momentum was just after market hours and it wasn't going to actually hold itself up and the bulls couldn't continue the momentum, this was not going to break through resistance or slightly break through it and fall right back down. It didn't do that. This was true momentum and it was enough volume. And actually, when I look back at each of these candlesticks, the reason why I was still a little uncertain is because this last one was 500 in volume, but this second one and this third to last and second to last candlestick, because these are the last three candlesticks from yesterday, and you'll see it in the video. This one had almost 30,000 in volume, and this one had almost 40,000 in volume, which is pretty much intra-trade or a day trade, right? Amount of moves. It was pretty much enough volume to kind of say, okay, this is a slight momentum, and we clearly see that. Now it kind of slowly dropped, but it continued to work its way up. I mean, the day reached all the way up to $23. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to buy, sell, or hold, but I do want to give some advice to investors, is that when these things are actually showing us, the indicators are showing us, and these things are happening, these are opportunities every single time. You know, sometimes we want to get in on a stock and try to look at it and double by 2. But if you just look at it by making an extra $1 per share or $2 per share, because anyone that entered in any of these, or even if you waited till resistance, it went up by $2 to $3 per share. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's almost 10% return in just one day or a few hours. I want you guys to go ahead and think about that. Those of you that are new investors or investors that are experienced, and sometimes, because even myself, I have the trouble that, that instant gratification of larger amounts is what we're looking for. And sometimes you just got to make those small moves, and those small moves, they add up. So like I always say, profits are profits, but bear with me as I show you guys the short clip from yesterday so you guys can look at it and compare it based off of this chart. So we'll be right back. And this moving average is an indicator that I have set up personalized. And if it's slowly above this, it doesn't always mean that, but when it's slowly above this, if the bulls are able to use this as support, which they slightly did in the after hours, but there's not enough volume to really tell, except for the fact that it actually used it as some support. And then after hours, it's a little bit different. So we want to watch if this support was really used by the bulls and they can use this as momentum. Tomorrow morning, this could actually break through resistance and work its way up slightly to a newer high. If not, this is the other possibility. This momentum is what it did after hours, and it used itself to jump up here, and that's about it. And it won't even make it past resistance. So that's why we need to watch it closely. But it doesn't always mean that. I want everybody to be aware of that. Like, here's an example on how it was used as momentum. So you could see here that as it was working its way up, it made it to that point and it used it as momentum and it reached this high, and from that point forward it fell. Let's use another one here. So as it was working its way up here and leveled off, it kept using it as a support, and at that point it actually used it as momentum and it brought itself up a little bit higher. You could see it here as well, used itself as momentum and it brought itself a little bit higher. And it used itself as momentum and it kept hovering above it. So it doesn't always mean that, especially in these close quarters and especially after hours. But we want to watch this very closely tomorrow. So as we saw, Workhorse was building momentum. I wasn't too sure due to the fact of that last candlestick. I didn't really mention it in the video, but that's what was holding me back from being so sure. But I had stated we needed to watch this early in the day, that it might break through resistance, and if it did, it could work on its way up to newer highs. And it certainly did that. But let's go ahead and look at our new resistance level and our new support here. So Workhorse in the last couple hours is actually getting a little bit volatile. That's what the indicators were showing yesterday to today. We would have to reanalyze that whole area. And that's usually what I do in intratrade to know when I want to pick up a position or think about entering something for the next day, or swing trade or day trade something. But it doesn't always mean that that's what's going to happen. Like I showed you guys a few other examples earlier on the chart so you could see, but you got to pay very close attention because those indicators are definitely telling us what's going on and what are the things to look for. That's why chart analysis, in my opinion, are pretty powerful. Some people have their own opinions on it, and others believe in it. I certainly believe in it because before any technology of having news at your fingertips and so forth, the best way to know what was going on with the stock was looking at its chart. You wouldn't get news like we get it now if you think about it way back 50 years ago, 40 and even 30 years ago, and maybe even 20 years ago, that at your fingertips you can see any news. Back then, you needed to wait till the weekly newspaper, or you needed to actually go to a book that had like information on different stocks and what was going on, that was being like published every certain amount of time. I don't remember how that worked, but that book was like something that you needed to go ahead and do your own research. And sometimes you were buying stocks like based off of information from like months ago. But if you saw something that was valuable, even though the stock already had ran, you were seeing based off the chart and the innovation or whatever was going on, you were looking at the further projection. And that's what these charts do. And what's awesome is that charts are now available everywhere and they're up to date, and some charts are slower than others, some are quicker than others. But when you get the gist of how the whole day went, you have an idea of what it's going to look like for the next day and what indicators to pay close attention to. So that's what I love about charts. And anybody that agrees with me, hit that like button down below, and also comment down below what are your thoughts on charts and how innovation and technology has changed the way we see charts and we see stocks overall. Because back then you needed to wait for news, and that was what created speculation and hope. And now speculation and hope is at our fingertips, and all that noise can sometimes block out your focus on what's really happening right here. Because the charts, they show it, and they are the actual raw data of what's going on. So here we are with Workhorse. So our support level is 2205. 2205, if that gets broken through, this is going to be on its way down to newer lows, and we need to watch how it reacts between support and the 50-day moving average, which is 2164. We're currently at 2230, and 2164 is our 50-day moving average. So if this support gets broken through, pay close attention to the behavior of the stock between those two, and if the bulls are trying to reappear to stop this from going into bearish territory. Now, if it breaks through support and the 50-day moving average and we end up in bearish territory, we do have the support down here of $20.99. And if you just want to round that up to $21, you're more than welcome to pay close attention to what's going on there. And if the bulls are trying to reappear before it gets to that support, or are the bears tearing this down and breaking through it? Because if it breaks through that, we are getting deeper into bearish territory and pulling further away from the 50-day moving average in a downward direction. On the other hand, we have what the bulls need to break through. And I want to emphasize that word need to. The bulls need to break through 2313, turn that into a support, and pull away from it to reach newer highs and newer resistance levels. I want everybody to keep that in mind and pay very close attention to that. As always, if you found this video helpful and informative, please do so and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell to turn on all notifications and not miss a single video that I post. Share this with your friends and community. And don't forget to hit the like button to let me know you watched this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.